What happens when a princess leaves the castle, only to find herself wandering in the wilderness? This isn't a fairy tale. This is the story of Tori Spelling. Imagine being born into a world of unimaginable wealth. Your father, a television king who created a $60 billion empire. Your childhood home, a Los Angeles palace so vast it had its own bowling alley and gift wrapping room. The public knew you as Hollywood royalty, the millionaire's daughter, destined for a life of glamour. So how did that same woman end up here, photographed living out of an RV with her 5 children, her face etched with worry, a world away from the red carpets she once commanded? How does the heiress to one of television's greatest fortunes face the threat of bankruptcy, drowning in debt, and public scrutiny? The headlines tell a simple story of a spoiled rich girl who squandered it all. But tonight, we'll uncover the shocking, little-known details behind the downfall. This is a story of family betrayal, a crippling addiction to a lifestyle she couldn't afford, and the desperate measures she took to stop from losing everything. From the moment she was born, Tori Spelling's life was anything but normal. She was the beloved daughter of Aaron Spelling, the legendary producer behind shows that defined generations. Charlie's Angels, The Love Boat, Beverly Hills 90210. Her home wasn't just a house, it was the manor. A sprawling 123-room mansion that was, at the time, the largest home in Los Angeles. For Tori, this wasn't just wealth, it was her entire reality. Birthdays were extravagant carnivals, and winters meant truckloads of artificial snow covering the sunny California lawns. She got her big break, of course, on her father's most iconic show, playing Donna Martin in Beverly Hills 90210. On screen, she was the sweet, sometimes naive girl next door. In real life, she was a global star, part of a pop culture phenomenon. From the outside, her path seemed paved with gold. She was famous, beautiful, and had a safety net worth hundreds of millions. The first crack in the perfect facade appeared in 2006. That was the year her father, Aaron Spelling, passed away, leaving behind an estate valued at an estimated $600 million. The world watched, expecting Tori to be handed the keys to the kingdom. The tabloids speculated. Would she get $100 million? 200? The truth, when it came, was a shock that echoed through Hollywood. Tori and her brother Randy were each left just $800,000. It sounds like a lot of money to most of us, but in the world she inhabited, it was a slap in the face. A rounding error. The rest of the colossal fortune went to her estranged mother, Candy Spelling. In an instant, the golden safety net was gone. The inciting incident wasn't just the death of her father. It was the brutal financial reality that followed. Suddenly, the princess was on her own, and no one could have predicted what would happen next. So why was she cut out of the will? The public perception was simple. Her mother, Candy, blamed Tori's messy public divorce and her quick marriage to actor Dean McDermott for the family rift. Candy publicly stated that Tori's reckless spending was out of control, and that she knew her daughter would burn through any massive inheritance in weeks. But the full story was far more complex. Tori later admitted she had a complicated relationship with money, not because she was simply spoiled, but because she never learned its value. Money was an abstract concept, something that was always just there. She confessed to having a shopping addiction, closing stores to spend tens of thousands of dollars in a single visit, not out of malice, but because it was the only way she knew how to live. She was trying to maintain the illusion of the life she'd always known, a life she could no longer afford. She was trapped between the public's perception of her as a wealthy heiress and the crushing reality of her bank statements. On social media, she was still a star. In reality, she was drowning in debt. This is where the chain reaction of destruction began. That $800,000 inheritance disappeared almost instantly, used to pay off immediate debts and invest in a better. Pressure was immense. A house of cards collapsing in slow motion, and she was trapped inside. Desperate to stay afloat and reclaim her story, Tori did the only thing she knew how to do. She turned her life into a television show. With her husband Dean, she launched a series of reality shows, most famously Tori and Dean, Home Sweet Hollywood. They put everything on display: their chaotic family life, their arguments, and most of all, their financial woes. The shows were her attempt to control the narrative. She was saying, "Yes, I have problems, but I'm an open book." She even wrote a series of best-selling memoirs with titles like Storytelling and Uncharted Territory, where she laid her struggles bare. For a while, it worked. The money from the shows and books provided a temporary lifeline, but it came at a cost. She was monetizing her own misery, selling her privacy for a paycheck. The public saw a train wreck they couldn't look away from, but in reality, they were watching a woman fighting for her family's survival, using the only currency she had left, her own life story. Which brings us to today. The aftermath of this 2-decade-long financial storm is stark and heartbreaking. In 2023, after years of public ups and downs, she finally filed for divorce from Dean McDermott, ending their 18-year marriage. The final pillar of her life seemed to crumble. Then, the shocking photos emerged. After being forced to leave her rental home due to a dangerous mold infestation that was making her children sick, she was spotted living out of a motel, and then an RV campground. The imagery was jarring. The daughter of the man who built a TV empire, whose childhood home was the size of a hotel, was now living a nomadic life in a motorhome. It was the ultimate symbol of her fall from grace. Her attempts to manage the narrative had run out of steam. The reality shows were over. The book deals had dried up. She was left with 5 children, a pending divorce, and the ghosts of a life she could never quite recapture. In the end, Tori Spelling's story is a cautionary tale about the illusion of fame and the corrosive nature of money, both having too much and not having enough. Was she simply a victim of her gilded upbringing, a bird raised in a golden cage who never learned